Everyone, Pastor Justin here, and I want to come to you and talk to you a little bit about something you may have seen in last week's email, and that's my sabbatical. I have a 5-week sabbatical coming up from September 27th to October 31st. In my terms of call here as your pastor, I get a 5-week sabbatical every 3 years. Now, I was supposed to take that last year because now I've been with you for 4 years, but pandemic's hit and there's nowhere to go, nothing really to do. And we were adapting and trying to figure out things. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to wait until things settle down a little bit more. And here in the life of the church, things have settled in many ways, and we have gone through all those adaptations, and I feel like our leadership in all the different ways, elders, deacons, and staff, as well as Pastor Dave, is all settled here at Grace, and so I'm able to take this 5-week sabbatical. First, I just want to say thank you to you as the congregation of Grace Presbyterian. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to do this. It's a fantastic opportunity for rest and renewal, and I know that I definitely need that right now in my life so that I can come back fresh with new ideas, fresh for looking at the year ahead of 2022, and all those sorts of things. In order to support Pastor Dave, especially during this 5-week sabbatical time, we're building a pastoral support team around him made up of various retired pastors and seminarians and all those kinds of folks. And so Pastor Dave and you all will have wonderful support from that team so that Dave can carry out both his current duties as well as taking over more of my duties during that 5-week period of time. So what will I be doing during those 5 weeks? Primarily rest and renewal. One of my big things for me is just being able to slow down enough to reflect, slow down enough to just kind of be, slow down enough so that when I come back 5 weeks later, I will have that deep sense of renewal. Second thing, which begins literally on September 27th, is a civil rights history trip with my father. I wrote a grant to Denver Presbytery to pay for various expenses during my sabbatical, and Denver Presbytery granted me those funds. And so I'm going to be on a civil rights history trip with my father. Quick story. My father has always been obsessed with the post-Civil War period through the civil rights movement of the 1960s. And so when I was growing up as an adolescent, as a teenager, one of the things that my father would make me do, especially when I would get in trouble and kind of push the boundaries and break the rules and stuff, is he would make me read African-American authors from that time period. And so I grew up reading Douglass and Du Bois and King and Malcolm X and all these folks, right? And so over the years, my father and I have discussed taking a trip like this and just never got around to it. And now I get to go do that and study as we're on that trip what happened to the American church, both prior to the Civil War as well as after the Civil War, all the way up to the Civil Rights time period, and how did the American church handle dealing with equality and civil rights, and how did we get through it then, and are there lessons from then that we can apply to our world now, especially when our world feels so divided and so pulled apart, and we don't know whose lives are supposed to matter and whose lives are we supposed to have, and you got flags up saying this and that and all these different statements, and it feels like instead of standing up for people that it really just kind of pulling us apart essentially, right? And so are there lessons from that time period that could be applied to the church now that will help us transcend political parties and media and all those kinds of things and bring us together, to unite us, to excite us about diversity of God's creation and God's people, rather than feeling like we are having to fit into a particular political mold? That's a pretty lofty goal for a 1-week trip. Let's be honest, I'm not going to figure all that out in 1 week. My hope is, though, that I can get some glimmers and some hints along the way that will inspire some more research over the course of the next year or two as I begin studying those things in my free time. The other thing I'll be doing is doing a vacation with my wife and son during my son's fall break in the middle of October. I'm going to be doing a couple little days and weekends up in the mountains as well. Some on my own, some with others, just to be able to do some of that really wonderful work that can only happen during a sabbatical. Finally, I'll be reading and reflecting, as well as getting excited about what's going to happen here in November with our own stewardship drives. Advent will come next in December, and then in January and February, it's our hope to be able to come back to you all with the actual plans for our next phase 2 of our building project around here. So all of that's what's coming down the pike here. That's what's in the road ahead. If you have any questions about my sabbatical, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them. I'm excited about the trip, excited to be able to go and get that rest and renewal and spend some good time, quality time with my family, as well as just being able to get around some new ideas and things. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening.